This video is meant to be a quick collection of general longboarding advice. If there's any detail in this that you think needs to be expanded on, because I certainly do, there are some things that I would like to talk about for 3 times the length of this video. Please comment down below what that section is, what section needs more clarification, or what you want to see dove into in a really technical way. Of course, I can't be the person to tell you what's right and what's wrong. I can't tell you what feels good to you. I can't tell you what inspires confidence in your riding. And therefore, you need to go consult other people to get a complete idea of how to set up your board. And of course, it's going to take your own experimentation too. I read stuff on the internet for a very long time and still wound up on a setup that I didn't feel good on. So take this with a grain of salt. I'm not an expert. I am just a person who's made a lot of mistakes and learned from them. And frankly, I am teaching a lot of beginners on a regular basis. I'm skating with a crew of very new skaters. So all these mistakes that I made while setting up my board, I'm seeing other people make along the way and trying to guide them through there. And I've seen a lot of success. So hopefully I can impart some of that onto you. First things first, when talking about setups, are your trucks. Should you be riding a high angle truck, like a 50-degree truck, or a low angle truck, like 43? The reason I say 50 and 43 is because I generally ride Paris trucks. It's not because I think they're better, it's just what I own. Now, when I say 50-degree truck, I'm talking between 47 and 52 degrees. These are all generally that 50-degree range. And when I say 43, I'm talking between 40 and 45. I think that encompasses that Freeride downhill range. And as a beginner, you may see this discrepancy, this jump, and think, okay, well, I want to learn Freeride. I want to learn downhill. I'm going to get the 43-degree trucks, this 40 to 45 angle. But this is where my opinion may differ from a lot of yours. This may be my most controversial thing I say, but I think beginners should be riding 50-degree trucks. And there are some exceptions. There are some cases where I think maybe you should consider riding something lower. There's not enough time in this video to discuss all of that, but in my findings, from my riding, from my experiments, and after talking to other people and watching their journey through skating longboards, 50-degree trucks offer you so much more turn than 43-degree trucks. And if you're going fast enough, then 43-degree trucks will turn just as much. But as a beginner, you want to finesse, you want to fine-tune your skills at a low speed. You don't want to be engaging in high-risk, fast riding while you're still learning how to confidently Coleman slide and pendy and do your glove down toe side. All of these things are incredibly vital to your progression. It's very important that you dial them in really early in your career. And I think having a high-degree truck enables you to do that because you can carve harder at lower speeds and that edge of traction is more attainable. I like to talk about traction as a traction threshold. Each wheel has a threshold, whether it's here with a grippy wheel or down here. For this purpose, we're just gonna say the traction threshold is here, and I'm a rider on 43-degree trucks. I'm learning my low speed slide, so I can't carve super hard. I can't lean fully off my board and bring my wheels all the way up to this traction threshold, So on my low degree trucks, I may only be able to carve from here, and then the rest is gonna be a big kick out. This big kick out can be super uncontrollable. It can be icy, it can be unpredictable. You can accidentally 180. And this is a huge frustration as a beginner. I've seen the most success with new riders learning new slides when they can use a 50-degree truck or something equivalent to carve all the way up to this traction threshold and then give it a small, gentle, calculated kick out to just past this point and have a really smooth, really controllable slide that they can repeat later. When you have to do this big kick out to overcome the lack of turning in your trucks, you'll find that each slide feels different. It's a different rodeo every single time. Now, the same goes for bushings. If you're riding bushings that are too hard, too restrictive, that don't enable you to turn your board over enough, it can be really, really challenging to slide at low speeds. I know this was a mistake that I totally made. Riding hard bushings doesn't allow you to turn hard enough to reach that traction threshold like I mentioned before, and you're still gonna have a lot of hard kickouts that really don't take you anywhere productive, don't take you anywhere consistently. So consider riding higher angle trucks and softer bushings and report back to me what you think. I know that when I started learning my stand-up slides, I really did it on 43-degree trucks. And I had a really hard time because I had to kick out so hard, and it's still reflected in my form today. But I noticed that when I switched to 50-degree trucks, learning my stand-up slides became so much easier because I could carve harder and I felt like I didn't have to go as fast to get the same consistent slide initiation. So if you're struggling with your stand-up slides right now, this could be part of the problem, is that your trucks don't turn enough. And either getting higher angle trucks or softer bushings can expedite your journey towards being a Freeride god. Now, when it comes to bushings, you'll thank yourself later if you go and buy a wide variety of bushings. A few different manufacturers have options for you to explore this. Riptide has their own bushing kits with washers, and washers are very important to experiment with, flat washers or cupped washers. This is a cupped washer on the bottom of this board, board side. This can really change how restrictive your setup is and where it kind of stops turning. A board with cupped washers all around will technically feel identical in the first few degrees of turn and the first, that little bit of lean as a board with flat washers, but then you'll hit your limit of turning a lot faster, and then it will become really hard to progress. Flat washers are a little bit more linear in their lean. You won't hit that stopping point as early, but it still exists. Experiment with flat washers and cupped washers and buy as many bushings as you can and as many hardnesses as you can. If I have one recommendation to restrict yourself, just get barrel bushings. Pay attention to if you're riding regular barrel bushings or tall barrel bushings. Some trucks use regular, some trucks use tall. You have to be very cautious. Personally, I use Venom HPF. It's not because I don't like Riptide, but I just think Riptide has so many options that it would be hard to find a setup that I was completely satisfied with and mentally satisfied with. So I've been using Venom, and my only regret after all these years is that I didn't buy every hardness right off the bat. But always having a bushing a step harder or a step softer to experiment with during a session can really teach you about what you prefer out of a board, and it can allow you to extract characteristics from your setup that you wouldn't otherwise get. So in longboarding, easier is not always better. It may be really attractive to ride the easiest sliding wheels, but that can really quickly become a crutch for you as you move on to other products, as you want to try other things. Riding the slidiest wheel you can find, like a hard Spitfire Formula 4. The Spitfire Formula 4 is not usually associated with the longboarding scene unless you're talking tech slide, which is so fucking cool. But the Spitfire Formula 4 is a technical street wheel that's meant to slide incredibly easily. The way street skaters slide is fundamentally different than the way that longboarders slide. And so learning your beginner slides on a really slidey hard wheel like this can really compromise what you're able to do down the road. And also it lets you get away with form that is not going to benefit you down the road and actually can create some unsafe scenarios. This also applies to some soft wheels. Remember Pee-wees and Powell G slides are some examples of incredibly slidey, small, soft longboard wheels. I would steer you away from these as a beginner because I think that the form and the strength and the flexibility that you'll get from sliding a slightly grippier wheel like a snake or things of that nature, other Freeride wheels, are going to be more akin to the downhill experience that you'll get down the road, and the skills that you develop will later translate better. So don't just get the slidiest wheels you can. But also, I say this, harder is not always better. Just because your setup is challenging to ride, because you're on the loosest, most unstable trucks ever, and you're on super grippy wheels, this can also hinder your progress and your confidence in other ways. If I'm not confident sliding my board, then how on earth am I going to be able to try new things? I'm not learning a new stand-up slide on my fresh, grippy race wheels. I'm going to work on them on Freeride wheels that slide easily on a board that I can slide slowly and feel super confident on. So don't just ride super small boards, with these race trucks and these big grippy race wheels just because you can, just because you want the challenge. There will be a point in your longboarding career where you're ready for that. You're ready to make that shift towards riding a more competitive or a more grippy or just an overall more unforgiving, more challenging setup that rewards the finessing, the precise rider. But as you're new, riding gear that's tough can really stunt your growth. Now, if you are not riding things that are too easy, but you're also not riding things that are too hard, you're gonna find your comfort zone of products that you know how to skate. Whether it's one setup, you know, with one specific set of trucks and one specific set of wheels and one deck that you're really comfortable on for any speed at any slides and anything like that. This is where I'll start to encourage you to experiment with your setup. Maybe try a slidier wheel, maybe try a grippier wheel. Change up your trucks, try a softer bushing, try a harder bushing. Even if you think you've found your Goldilocks zone, try to step out of it from time to time, because it can really teach you things about your form. It can teach you things about your gear and the stuff that you're riding that you wouldn't otherwise notice. And also ride other people's boards. Anytime you get the chance, anytime that they'll let you. Odds are they're not riding an identical setup to yours, and it's gonna behave totally differently in slides, in cornering, in just bombing straight down a hill. Totally try to be a very versatile rider, because not only is it gonna accelerate your learning, being able to ride all these different boards in all these different conditions, but it's also gonna make you cooler. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my opinion, and this is what makes me stoked to go ride, is watching other people in longboarding that can pick up any board and go down a hill. You know, Will Royce comes to mind. He has done heinous things on a dancing longboard down hills, and he has also ridden street skateboards down hills on hard wheels, you know, just unorthodox downhill setups, and he is an absolute madman with it. His style is incredibly unique, and it's riders like that that really speak to me, and they're riders that I want to emulate. I'll take out my dinghy to go skate a garage, because there's something to learn from riding a board that small in a downhill scenario. I'll go take out my drop through board, you know, a long distance pusher, to go free ride a new neighborhood, because there's an experience to gain from that and an insight into other setups that I get that honestly do benefit me on my other boards when I go back to them. So step out of your comfort zone, try new products, try new gear. Don't stick to any one brand, and kind of sprinkle your love all over the community. And my final recommendation is that at the end of the day, you want to be excited to ride. You want to have a board that looks good and makes you feel good. I want you to look at your longboard and think, man, that thing would just look so much cooler if it were rolling right now. You should be excited to go out and skate, and your skateboard should inspire that. You don't want something that is going to challenge you to the point where you gotta think, oh, I need another day of prep, of mental prep before I go ride this board. And you also don't want something that is gonna underwhelm you. You wanna stay on your toes. So as much as I don't want to encourage rampant consumerism, you know, just spending for the sake of spending and buying things for the sake of buying things, because that can be really unhealthy, that can be really destructive to you and the people around you. I do want to encourage you to buy the products that make you excited. Buy from brands that make you excited. You know, whoever is sponsoring your favorite rider, or whoever is putting out the best information about longboarding right now, like Land Yachts with all their instructional how-to videos, or their great series about cruising, like that rocks. As a downhiller, I look to Prism and Caliber and Blood Orange, and the videos that they make that are so rewatchable and so enjoyable and so cool, they inspire me to go work on my slides every single time. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciated it, and it's very fortunate that I'm getting interrupted at this point in the video. I appreciate you.